Hello, Dustin Czarny here, Commissioner in a Car. Today is Tuesday, April 12th, and we're well on our way here into the election season, and we're getting ready to do a lot of stuff to get ready for our primary. We're kind of knowing who's on the ballot now, but as always, there's always something that comes up last minute that changes things for us here at the Board of Elections. So this week, I'm going to talk about court cases, what normally happens when a court case comes into our office and what we have to do. And, a little bit specifically about the current court case that's going on. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about mail check cards. The mail check cards are about to hit doors. They're going out in the mail as we speak. And should be hitting doors this weekend. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. Hopefully I'll have mine by then. But so court cases and mail check cards. That's what we're talking about here in Commissioner Car this week. So last Thursday, the Onondaga County Board of Elections received a notice that we were being served. And 8 Republican county legislators are suing 29 Democratic lawmakers and candidates that were seeking the Working Families Party line for this fall's elections. So those candidates, are now going to go to court. The Board of Elections is also going to go to court, and the 8 Republican county legislators are also going to court to invalidate those lines. The issue that is on the court document is that they are claiming that the Working Families Party in New York City photocopied names onto the petition instead of signing them, and that they needed to do an original. The Working Families Party claims that was allowed under the governor's executive order, allowing for remote notary access for authorizations. Does all of this sound a little confusing to you? Probably. But what is an authorization? Well, when a person is seeking a third party line, let's say a Democrat seeking the Working Families Party line, they need an authorization or permission from the party to be able to run for office. And that authorization comes several days after petitioning is done, and usually is signed by either a county chair, or in the case of the Working Families Party, the officers of the Working Families Party in New York City. So there's we're waiting to see what what is going to happen with this. Normally these are regularly signed, but under the COVID guidelines given by Governor Cuomo, there's a variety of ways to do this, and it's up to the judge to decide whether this particular way of doing it was correct, and whether that it not being correct rises to the level to actually invalidate the petitions for these 29 Democratic candidates. The Board of Elections really doesn't have much of a role here other than to provide the paperwork. We've already accepted those authorizations as valid because we have no way to know how things were done or how things were signed. We have no way to do an evidentiary hearing or anything like that. So we are, we're kind of on the sideline just waiting for the judge to order. And as I said, when, the court case came about, it seems like a pretty small technicality and a petty way to throw somebody off the ballot. But it can happen, and it may happen in this case. It'll be up to the court. Now, I know that the Working Families and the candidates are providing a rigorous defense, and we'll have to see what the court rules later this month. But as of right now, those candidates are on the ballot. And we're going to continue with our primary process. In fact, there are 2 primaries involving the Working Families Party, one in County Legislative 5 and one in the town justice race for Salina. In those areas, you had Democrats or cross-endorsed Democrats. Well, I'm sorry, no, it's two different cases. So in the town judge race, you have a registered Republican who is running on the Democratic line, who also is running on the Working Families line, who submitted petitions. In the on his opposite side is somebody who used to be in another party but switched their party to the Working Families Party back, I believe, in February, and is now running a Working Families primary only for the town justice position. And in OCL 5, which is currently held by Deb Cody, Jana Rogers, the Democratic candidate, got Working Families endorsements and is part of this lawsuit that is going on. Another Working Families person who just recently changed their party, is running a Working Families primary only on the county ledge, 5th race. So those two primaries, the judge's race doesn't matter because a judge does not need authorization to run. So the OCL 5 primary actually hinges on what this court case does. But none of the other primaries do that we're running this year. So we're getting ready for those primaries. What are those primaries? Well, we have primaries for mayor. In the city of Syracuse, we have Democratic primaries for mayor and for counselor at large and for school board. You may have remembered that last week we had a hearing for Common Council president for the petitions that were turned in for Kenneth Cannon against Helen Hudson. Those petitions were found to be faulty. They did not have enough Democratic signatures on them, and so they were thrown off the ballot. And so there is no primary for Common Council president. Those three primaries are happening. There are primaries happening for highway supervisor in Lysander, highway supervisor in Skaneateles, and Republican, and these are for Republican primaries, for highway supervisor in Lysander, highway supervisor in Skaneateles, and town board for Pompey, that as well. The Republican primary for OCL 4 was averted when the second Republican candidate got a job with Onondaga County, and the Camillus highway supervisor primary was averted when the candidate that submitted petitions to run a Republican primary decided to decline those petitions and thus did not run a primary. So these primaries are happening. The OCL 5 Working Families primary is happening, as well as the Salina Town Justice Working Families Party is happening. So these are, and then there is also a Manlius Town Justice Conservative Party primary going on. Both the Democratic candidate for Town Justice, David Rothschild, and his Republican opponent are going for the conservative line out in Manlius. So that's the other primary that's happening. And so, if you are in those areas, then you can expect to go to the polls on June 22nd, or to early voting before that, or absentee balloting before that. That leads me to my next segment for today's Commissioner Card, mail check cards. What are mail check cards? Well, they're the white, sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're orange. This year, they are white cards that go to every voter in Onondaga County who is an active voter. It has on there their name, their address, what party they're registered in, as well as where their polling place is this fall and in for the primary as well. So these are important cards because it also has a barcode on there. You can bring these cards in when you go to vote, and you can basically scan it in our system, and it pulls up your voter record, and boom, you can just sign and go. So keep the cards when they come. Know where your polling place is, because there have been polling place changes. So check the cards to make sure that you got the right polling place and that you're in the right party. And if you want to change your party, you can do so, but you can't do it before the primary. You can change it for the future. or if it has a wrong spelling of your name or something like that. Those are things that you can work with the Board of Elections to get resolved. So watch for those mail check cards. They are coming your way. And hopefully you'll keep it. So David asks, how do we determine the color of the card? Actually, we don't. The vendor does. But there is color on the card. It's not just a white and black card. There is red, white, and blue on the card. There's some color printing on the card. So hopefully they will not be thrown out as junk mail. And hopefully we will get those out, and people will see them, and we're going to get this out on social media to see them as soon as they come in, and I'll be posting mine, and to make sure people know what's on that card, where to find the information, and all of that. So check that out, and keep the card, hashtag keep the card, because it's going to help you this fall in your checking in processes. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if there are any, just pop them along. I'm going to tell you things that I'm working on this week. My Wonky Wednesday next week is going to be, or next week tomorrow, the town of Onondaga. I got to tell you, I've been doing some of the data on this, and I'm really excited to write this article tonight because it is a wonderful story of opportunity for Democrats in the town of Onondaga. And Thursday, I'll be dropping a Zoom with Zarni with Assemblywoman and Party Chair Pam Hunter. We'll be talking about her work in Albany, the budget, and all of the stuff that she's been working there, as well as how the races are looking this year for Democrats. Then next week, I'll be talking on Zoom with Zarni. I'll be talking with I forgot. I have to check my own calendar. Who do I have next week? Oh, I think it's Joe Driscoll, County Legislature 4, 5th candidate, or he's coming up at some point. But I'm starting to get into the candidate interviews now. We have a lot of candidates on the ballot this fall. We know who they are. So I'm hoping to get into the candidate interviews, over the next few weeks. So David asked how many people vote in a WFP or conservative town primary. A couple dozen at most. And with the WFP, maybe even less. There's only about 130 or so WFP members in Salina and in the County Ledge 5th race. I'm not really sure how many conservatives are in the town of Manlius, but it's less than a couple hundred. But usually 10% show up in a primary, so there's not a lot there. We do have early voting sites for primaries. Anybody in any party in any primary. Oh, I forgot about the Republican primary for mayor inside the city of Syracuse as well. Another primary that's happening. So we have primary early voting locations we voted on last week. The early voting locations for the primary are the Armin Magnarelli Center, Southwest Community Center, Camillus Fire Station, because that is located in between. And I forgot about those two primaries as well. Onondaga County Legislature 15 and 16 are having Democratic primaries. And 16 is all inside the city, but 15 goes into a portion of Onondaga and Geddes as well. So is the city. So it kind of snakes around the outside of the city. So we'll have an early voting station in Camillus. It's in between Lysander and Geddes. That way, those voters have a place to go to do early voting that's closer to them. And then also an early voting station in Lafayette. So the voters in the Pompey primary have a place that's close to them. But of course, as always in Onondaga County, you can go to any voting station, no matter where you are, and vote early and get your ballot, whether you're a working families member in Cicero or in the portion of the County Ledge 5 that is voting, or a Pompey Republican voting for town council. You can go to any one of those early voting sites. So that's all I have right now. We'll have to see how this court case goes. It'll be definitely, it's part of a statewide thing. This is happening in every county in every state. Or every county in our state is having working families, or a lot of counties. I don't know how many, but I know it's a lot, especially upstate, where the Republicans have gone to court to invalidate the working families petitions. So we'll have to see how far it goes. And I'm sure it'll go to appeal no matter who wins at the first level. So, this will be a couple months that we'll have to be figuring this out. So, all right. Please remember that wear a mask, stay socially distant. We're so close to getting rid of this thing. Vaccines are continuing. I know there was a pause on Johnson & Johnson vaccines announced today. I believe the appointments at the state-run facilities are moving over to the other vaccines, so people can still get vaccines. So if you can get a shot, get a shot. That pause seems to be a way to allow the medical community to catch up with the news that some of them have gotten, very few, 6 cases out of millions, have gotten a blood clot. So they're trying to figure out a way to have a treatment that is available and ready for that. And I believe that they'll restart those Johnson & Johnsons, but I follow the scientists. If the scientists believe it was ready to pause, then we should pause that. But the other vaccines have been proven to be safe. They are effective, and I can tell you now I'm 14 days past my waiting on my second shot. I'm very relieved. But I'm still wearing the mask when I'm out in the world, and still trying to stay as socially distant as possible so we can get as many people safe and sound as normal, and get back to normal, hopefully this summer. So, all right, stay safe yourself, get out there, register to vote, and I hope to see you around. Bye-bye.